Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special broadcast of Journey of the Master, our podcast series. Today, we are talking about something that I am so excited to share with all of you. It couldn't be a more perfect time to have this conversation, so I'm so happy that you are here. Today, we're talking about living beyond your wildest dreams. And there's a really important story that goes along with this and why we are having this very special conversation here today. So, first off, I want to say hello to everyone who is on live. So happy that you guys are all here. Paula from Orlando, hello. Maria, Switzerland. Meleth, hello. Carol from Arizona. Emily, Sophia, Charlie, all over the world. My friend Jim. Many of you have heard me talk about the stories of when I left my corporate career and was wondering if I had screwed up my whole life. And really, the only stabilizing force I had at that time was this yoga class that I went to every day. And I met my friend Jim, who's here at that yoga class. So love you, Jim. Mary Ann, Leslie, Ara, what a beautiful name. Gwen, Jess, Gina, so glad you guys are all here. I really love this live energy. So we try to do these live as often as possible so we can be here together. And if you have questions and you're on live, feel free to throw them in the chat there in the comments, and we'll get through as many of those questions as possible. But you probably know the very special announcement, our big news. My newest book, The 11 Success Principles for Self-Realization, is now available in paperback, audiobook, and ebook. And I'm so excited to share that not only is it a #1 bestseller, it is also a #1 top release in all three categories: ebook, audiobook, and paperback. So if you haven't got your copy yet, please get your copy. I am so in love with this book, and I'm loving the comments that I have been reading from those of you who have already read it, some people 2 or 3 times, and it hasn't even been released for a week yet when we're recording this live. But I have to say, in the spirit of living a life beyond your wildest dreams, this book is, for me, the manifestation of that. And I'm holding up the back of the book for a reason, because it says, live this wisdom and you will have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And that really is the essence of this book. It is the inspiration for this book. About 11 years ago, can't believe it was that long ago. About 11 years ago, like I said, my life took a very different path beyond anything I ever thought would be possible for me or ever be part of my experience. I was living whatever you call a seemingly normal life. But you may be able to relate to this. I felt like I had some greater purpose. I felt like there was something more to life than what I was living, but I didn't know what that was. And I had done everything I thought I was supposed to do. You know, I went to school, I got the job, I bought the house, I got married, I went to work every day, I helped start a company that was incredibly successful, and I thought I was doing everything right. But for some reason, I didn't really feel like I was living my purpose. And I really did not feel like I was living the dream for my life. In fact, the concept of living a life beyond my wildest dreams was not even something that I could have imagined at this point, or that point. At this point, I can. At that point, not so much. So, what happened was I started receiving guidance through the process of automatic writing, and then through a QHHT session, which was quantum healing hypnosis technique. I discovered that I had the ability to connect into higher consciousness. And spoiler alert, everybody has the ability to tap into higher levels of consciousness. But I certainly didn't even know that was possible for me at that time. But that really was my opening to receiving guidance and wisdom from the council and channeling the council. So I would do it in these QHHT sessions where the practitioner was asking questions to the council, and this incredible wisdom was coming through me. But I also was living in a space of feeling their energy and their consciousness all around me all the time. So I was doing a lot of automatic writing at that time. And one of the very first things they said to me was, if you will live this wisdom, you will have a life beyond your wildest dreams. To which I eagerly said back, well, I have some pretty big dreams for my life. How would I even go about living a life beyond my wildest dreams? But I thought, wow, you must have some really big things in store for me, because I can't even imagine a life beyond my wildest dreams. Fast forward, and so many magical moments, and so many miraculous things, and so many perfect divine orchestrations and moments of perfect divine timing. I'm sitting here, and I promise you, no matter where you are in your life or what is going on in your life, if you will just live this wisdom in this book, The 15 Success Principles for Self-Realization, you will live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And so that's what we're talking about today, because I want to empower you. I want to inspire you. I want to uplift you, to make a shift in your consciousness, not just to achieve that goal or get through the day or live an ordinary life, but to open your awareness and get excited about living a life beyond your wildest dreams. How about that? A life beyond your wildest dreams. So, like I said, I couldn't quite have imagined that concept, but I was really curious about it. I thought, a life beyond my wildest dreams. And while I had some actual experiences that came to mind, maybe that's true for you when you think about, what would it be like to be living a life beyond your wildest dreams? There may be some experiences that come to mind. You might think, oh my gosh, well, to live a life beyond my wildest dreams, I'd be living at the beach, or I would be traveling the world, or I'd have my own company, or I'd meet the love of my life. And those are all experiences that are in your heart for a reason. There's a reason that those dreams are in your heart. We don't all have the same desires. We don't all have the same dreams, but there's a reason that those, whatever they are in your heart. And while you will have the experience of all those things, I think it's just leading you to something even greater that you can't even imagine right now in your life. In fact, the very purpose of our desires, the dreams that are placed in your heart by your soul, the very reason for those is for even greater joy and even greater expansion. And that greater joy and that greater expansion will actually lead you to a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I am absolutely living proof of that. And if it can happen for me, I guarantee it can happen for anyone. And it's so much simpler than you might think. In fact, I think for most people, I know where I was. I then thought I had to work really hard and I had to figure it all out. And that felt heavy. That brought some resistance. So I want to talk about a couple of the success principles today. And if you joined our kickoff party, we shared with you a couple of the success principles that I think are most important that you can apply immediately in your life for change. I shared the one that most changed my life. We're recording this live on April 21st, and that launch party replay is still available until tomorrow, April 22nd. So we'll throw the link down below until tomorrow at 12 Pacific time when that actually expires. But if you haven't watched that launch party yet, I encourage you to get the replay. It was awesome. I also did a live webinar for my publisher, Hay House, that is the publisher of all 4 of our best-selling books so far. And I shared the first 5 success principles. But I want to share a couple that I haven't been sharing lately. I did share in a short clip. If you go to our YouTube channel, you're probably already on the YouTube channel if you're live, but in the future, you can see a couple of those clips. The one that I think you can apply to make immediate impact in your life, you can find that short video on our YouTube channel. You'll also see the one that most changed my life. You can find that video on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. We also have something really, really exciting planned for our next live broadcast. So subscribe and you'll get notified of that, as well as all of the other videos that we add in support of you to help you live this wisdom so that you can live a life beyond your wildest dreams. But I want to share a couple of the success principles. I think every single one of these, all 15 of them, if you took one chapter, if you sat this book by your bed and you picked it up once a day and you read whichever success principle that you opened up to, I guarantee you, if you applied that one in your life today, you would create immediate impact and change your life. Every single one of these to me are absolutely life-changing, but they are also the wisdom that I had spent decades seeking in my life. And while I came across some incredible spiritual teachings and some awesome personal development coaching and things like that, I had deep questions about who am I? Why am I here? What is my highest potential? How do I live that? And how do we really live this wisdom in our everyday life? Most of us live a pretty seemingly modern, normal life. And so, all the wisdom in the world, all the information in the world, all the spiritual teachings in the world, all the coaching programs in the world are not going to change your life unless you actually apply this wisdom in your life, which is why we tried to make it the most simple format there could possibly be. We listed out the 15 core foundational teachings of the council. You could take any one of these any day and begin to immediately change your life. And I want it to be something that we can live and apply. That's the most important part, because I want you to live a life beyond your wildest dreams too. And I'm going to share a couple of stories from my students that I just find so incredibly inspiring. But I want to share with you a couple of these. Number 6, success principle number 6 from the 15 success principles of self-realization is: if you want to experience anything in the world around you, you must first create it within yourself. If you want to experience anything in the world around you, you must first create it within yourself. And I will actually make that even easier. It's already within you. You just have to align to it. You just have to choose it. So, one of the things about living a life beyond your wildest dreams, to me, is having absolute freedom. The freedom to do what you love, the freedom to do what you're inspired to do, the freedom to have the experiences you want to have, the freedom to express yourself authentically and joyfully, the freedom to expand and grow. And sometimes that includes having new experiences or going new places or meeting new people or trying new things or being exposed to a new culture. And so you might say, when you really feel into living a life beyond your wildest dreams, you might say, wow, that would feel like freedom. That would feel like absolute freedom. However, if you want freedom in your life, you must first create it within yourself, which means you must choose it within yourself. So if you have a story that sounds something like this: well, I can't do the things I want because I have to go to work. You don't have to go to work. You're choosing to go to work. You absolutely have the freedom to choose. Now, you might say, if I don't go to work, I'm going to get fired and I can't pay my bills. But today, you do have the freedom to choose if you're going to go to work today. You have the freedom to choose everything all day long. But if your story is that you don't have the freedom to choose, even though living a life beyond your wildest dreams would feel like freedom, you are telling a story and within yourself creating an experience that you're not free. That you're not free. And I'm here to tell you, you absolutely are free. Even if you have to take it down to this now moment and focus on this now moment and what you are free to choose in this now moment. you will start to create within yourself a feeling of freedom, an awareness of freedom, and you will start to experience that freedom all around you. I'll give you silly examples of this, right? You are choosing what you do the moment you wake up. You are choosing whether you're going to jump out of bed or take 3 deep, conscious, intentional breaths and go into your heart and choose to feel joyful in this moment. You are choosing whether you jump up and go to the bathroom and brush your teeth as the first thing that you do, or you're choosing whether you get up and go have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. You are making thousands and thousands of choices all day long that you are absolutely free to choose and to create. And so take your power back over your life. To live a life beyond your wildest dreams, starting right here today, you've got to choose you. You've got to take your power back over your life. If someone wants you to do something and you feel resistance, which we're going to talk more about resistance in a minute, and you feel resistance, but you do it anyway, you are reaffirming to yourself that you don't have the power to choose. Now, it may require a shift in your perspective, a shift in your perspective to get to the place where you do feel free to choose and you choose to do something that someone is asking you to do, right? If your boss is asking you, for example, a friend of mine recently was sharing the story about how her boss asked her to come in on a Saturday, which normally wasn't a day that she worked. And she was upset about it. She was offended. She felt like she had to do it until she shifted her perspective to get her power back. And when she shifted her perspective, the reason her boss asked her to come in on a Saturday is because they had the biggest launch that they've ever had of a particular product in their company. And her boss trusted her more than anybody else in the company to be part of preparing for that. And when she shifted to feeling respected, valued, trusted, appreciated, seen for who she is, all of a sudden it became totally choiceless to say yes to going in on Saturday and working with her boss on this new product because she shifted her perspective. And then she got to choose. Once she shifted her perspective, she got to choose whether she wanted to be part of that. And then it was choiceless and it was a yes. So there's always that perspective that you can choose that allows you the freedom, to really be in your power and choose from there. If you want to create anything in the world around you, if you want to experience anything in the world around you, you must first create it within yourself. Health is another big area where someone might say, well, I'm not free. I have this diagnosis. I have this pain. I have this. I've got this going on in my body. However, if what you most want is to feel energized, for example, and that would feel like freedom, no matter what is going on in your body, you can come into the moment, come back into your power, because all of your power is in the now moment. Success principle number 9. Come back into the moment. And if you really do take 3 deep, conscious, intentional breaths, feeling energy moving into your body, you will start to feel energized, not moving anywhere, not moving at all. You can align with that and feel that freedom through your breath in your body in any moment. So start there and choose. You get to choose. You get to choose. Again, one of the other success principles, everything is always happening for you, not to you, to bring you into new levels of your power. I can tell you in my own journey, when I've gone through things in my body whether it was having COVID, whether it was having the flu, whether it's having a cold, whether it's having some back pain. Through living this wisdom, there is no longer any judgment. I find that you can immediately go to compassion and kindness for your body, which really starts to shift your relationship with your body. Part of my experience of living a life beyond my wildest dreams is feeling freedom in my body and feeling freedom in my relationship with my body. If you want to experience anything in the world around you, you must first create it within you. What is your relationship like with your body? Because that can be an opportunity for you to start living beyond your wildest dreams by shifting your relationship with your body, shifting your perspective of your body from judgment to celebrating and appreciating your body exactly as it is right now. Money is another one. If you want to experience anything in the world around you, you must first create it within you. You get more of what you are, not what you want. That's actually one of the success principles, number 7. You get more of what you are, not what you want. If you are struggling with money and you want money, you're not going to get more money by being aligned to the struggle. I love my students so much. And sometimes it's such a perfect reflection when they're asking a question to me or asking a question to the council, because what they say they want is more money or they want abundance in their life. But they start the question off with explaining how long they have been struggling with money, how money has been a challenge for them for so long. And then they ask this question, why don't I have more money? You get more of what you are, not what you want. If you want more abundance in your life, you've got to align to the abundance that is already here for you. And one of the easiest ways that I find to do that is nature. Nature can shift my perspective on abundance in moments. In moments. One of my favorite things that the council said years ago in relation to how to feel abundant in this moment and get more abundance in your experience is to go out and play this game with yourself that the leaves on the tree are actually your form of currency. The leaves on the trees are your form of currency. Now, I live in California and I'm sharing this story in April. So hopefully, even if you live in a really cold place in the winter, you're starting to see the leaves on the trees and you're starting to see the leaves on the rose bushes and you're starting to see the leaves all around. So I understand not everybody has leaves all year long, but you can play this game. Really, you can. Start to imagine the leaves on the tree are your abundance, are your currency for exchange. But think of how efficient that is, right? They're on the tree. If you need them, you just get them off the tree, right? If you were to take all the leaves off the tree and throw them in a big bag and try to hold on to them, they'd eventually disintegrate. So the council tells us that the universe is efficient and expeditious, and that abundance flows to us in the most expeditious and efficient way. So if you start to look at a tree and just for fun, start counting the leaves on the tree and imagine that every single one of them is $1 or $100. Every single leaf on a tree is a $100 bill that's here in your experience, maybe even in your yard. Now, I've done this many times, and I never, ever, 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 ever get to the place where I can count all the leaves on the trees because I get exhausted after, not exhausted. I'm like, okay, I get the point. I'm abundant, right? So I look at one branch And I might get to 100 leaves just on this one branch. And I go, okay, I give. I'm abundant. I feel it. I also have this beautiful rose garden where these beautiful roses behind me came from. All of the flowers are blooming. All the roses are blooming. The leaves are so green and the roses are so beautiful, and that to me is abundance. When I walk out and I see my beautiful roses, that's abundance for me. And maybe you don't live in a place where you can have roses, but if you love them, get yourself a little rose bush and keep it in your house and let it be a sign of your abundance so that you can start aligning to the abundance that is already here for you, because you get more of what you are, not what you want, not what you say you need, right? Um, there's a comment here, and it is, this person said, I was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I would like an abundance of health. And there's some other comments here as well. I have noticed lots of people being diagnosed around me recently with cancer. And I've also had the great privilege of watching my students recently, a few of them in particular, one of them which was diagnosed with a similar form of cancer. And I'm watching them stay in their power. And I'm watching them choose the perspective that this is happening for me in some way. That I might not see it today, but I know that in some way, someday, I'm going to see that this happened for me and did bring me into new levels of my power so I could get clear on what I really wanted and create my life the way I wanted it to be. And that's very near and dear to my heart because 19 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer and I didn't have this wisdom at that time. And I had a lot of fear and it was all consuming. And I worried about the worst happening until about a year and a half into my cancer. I had a very profound epiphany as to why it had happened for me. And in the moment that I took my power back, I have never had cancer since. And I know that I won't. There's a great book that talks about cancer as being a healing mechanism, that it's not a disease, it's a healing mechanism. I believe your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, all of it. Maybe your soul doesn't need healing, but maybe sometimes our relationship with our soul needs healing. And so I encourage you to shift into a perspective that in some way this is happening for you and there is a gift in this. And what I've also found is in others' journeys over the last couple of years that there are more cures available for cancer than probably ever. There are more natural things that have proven to cure cancer and more medications that help cure cancer. So I truly believe that if you have something like that going on in your life, shift to the perspective that there is more well-being on this planet than ever before. There are more people that have been cured of cancer than ever before. There are more holistic and natural cures for cancer and more solutions in the medical field. Start to shift your perspective to all of the well-being that is here and really know that all of your power is in this now moment, that this in some way is happening for you, and in time you'll understand. And in this moment, how can I fully step into my power? How can I fully step into my power? So I want to talk about one more of these success principles. And again, I think it goes perfectly with everything we've been talking about. It always does. But it's actually success principle number 15. As you align to a higher level of consciousness, your well-being and your abundance is assured. And I can tell you that is living beyond your wildest dreams. When you live in such a way that you know your well-being and abundance is assured. But let me explain something that absolutely changed the course of my life and was the aha epiphany moment that shifted everything for me. And I talk about this in the book because I think it's so important to understand that we are living in a level of consciousness that is determining the reality that we experience in each moment. Most people live the majority of their life in the third dimension of fear, lack, limitation, and separation, ultimately separate from your source, God, the divine. It's somewhere out there, but it's not here, right? Your soul is separate from you. You're separate from what you want. It's over there, and you've got to get it over here or go over there, right? We're separate from each other. And so there's judgment and all these other things. And so the third dimension, the basis for that dimension of consciousness is separation. And when you're constantly holding yourself in separation, you've got to work hard, you've got to effort, you've got to force things, you've got to work hard and earn a living. You've got to work hard to be healthy. And in that dimension of consciousness, we're not summoning a whole lot of our own energy, which is your life force, the source energy that is who you really are and that you always intended to live aligned to in this experience. The level of consciousness that you're in determines how much energy you are summoning into your experience, which determines the world you live in and what is possible for you. It goes back to anything is possible, or with God, anything is possible. With your own source energy, with the source that is you, anything is possible. That's where miraculous healings occur. That's where miracles occur. That's where on some ordinary day, the most magical thing happens and changes the course of your life forever. The fourth dimension of consciousness, which tends to be what we elevate ourselves into when we start to awaken. So when you start to ask the question, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? You actually are raising your level of consciousness into the fourth dimension of transformation. And you start to realize you can transform things in your life. You can transform your circumstances, your conditions, your relationships, your body. And so it's more empowering. So you are summoning more of your own source energy. However, there is a doorway that leads out of the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension, which is a higher level of consciousness, where your well-being, where your abundance, and where a life beyond your wildest dreams is here and available to you now. That doorway is the doorway out of judgment, going beyond judgment, elevating yourself beyond judgment of yourself, your circumstances, your conditions. And it's so tricky and sneaky sometimes. If you're not feeling good in this moment, I guarantee you in some way you're in judgment. I guarantee in some way you're in judgment. And success principle number 8, when you are resisting anything, you are resisting everything and stopping the flow of easy, effortless, harmonious creation. Judgment is one of those things that creates the greatest amount of resistance for most people and keeps you stuck, keeps you in that resistance where you're not really summoning your own source energy. So things aren't easy, effortless, and harmonious. They're a struggle and they're difficult. All you've got to do is elevate your consciousness and align to a higher level of consciousness, which is the truth of who you are. And this is why this book is so important to me, because every single word in this book is designed intentionally to easily, effortlessly bring you into the highest levels of consciousness. The fifth dimension of pure love, which lies beyond judgment, is where your well-being and your abundance is assured. It's a higher level of consciousness that is here for you, has always been here for you, is the truth of you. And it is a natural evolution to journey through the levels of consciousness that are here in this earth experience, to remember the fifth dimension of pure love, where your well-being and your abundance are assured. And I assure you, they are assured in that fifth dimension. So it changed everything for me when I understood that what was possible for me wasn't possible in the third dimension of lack, limitation, fear, and separation, but was possible for me as I raised my consciousness into higher levels of awareness where I was summoning more of my own energy. That's when your life starts being beyond your wildest dreams. Beyond your wildest dreams. To me, the fifth dimension of pure love is heaven on earth. It's a new earth, and it is beyond your wildest dreams because your life is magical, is joyful, is harmonious. You live in harmony, your heart, your mind, your body, your soul, all in perfect harmony. You are really living aligned to the divine prosperity that is here for you. You're attracting, because of the level of energy you're summoning, the most incredible things into your experience. And you can go there intentionally in any moment, easily, by coming into the moment, all of your powers in the now moment, taking some deep breaths, shifting your awareness into pure love for yourself, for everything. There's only love. There's only love. There's only love. And when you start living in that state, all sorts of amazing things start happening for you. So, what would it feel like? What would it feel like to be living a life beyond your wildest dreams? What would it feel like? What experiences come to mind? Just your awareness, just you asking this question to yourself. What would it feel like to live a life beyond my wildest dreams? I gave you some examples earlier, and one of them was intentional. I had a client who was living in the Midwest who really wanted to live a life beyond her wildest dreams. And what that meant for her is that she wanted to live in California on the ocean. And she was particularly excited about it when she shared it, and then immediately went into resistance. Because her story was that this is what would be so amazing to me. That would be beyond my wildest dreams, to live on the beach in California. But she immediately followed it up with why she couldn't do that. Because in order to do that, her story was, they would have to sell their house and they would have to move to California. And her husband did not want to sell their house and did not want to move to California. So she said, I can't have what I want. I can't live the life I want. I can't have this experience of living a life beyond my wildest dreams. And so instead of going into the story of why she couldn't do it, start to ask yourself the question, if this is you, and you're going, well, yeah, to live a life beyond my wildest dreams, I'd live on the beach in California. And then the story comes up of why you can't. And so the next question to her was, well, could you go spend a weekend at some point, you and your husband, and rent a house on the beach in California? And so she said, well, yeah, I could probably do that. You know, he has some vacation time coming up, and yeah, we could probably do that. So take the next perfect step that is possible for you in the direction of living a life beyond your wildest dreams. What is one thing that you could do to start living a life beyond your wildest dreams in some way? What's one step you could take? What's the next perfect step to that that you could take. And maybe you take it today, or maybe you know you can take it. In her case, she knew that in a month or two that she could take some time with her husband and they could go to California. So she started to look for places on the beach. And she found a VRBO, like vacation rental place, that she really liked in this cute little town. And she talked to her husband and said, "Gosh, I'd really love if when we have some time off in the next month or two, if we could rent this house." So they agreed, and he agreed. And they rented this house on the beach. And they went and they had an amazing time. And her husband loved it. And so then they went back I think they went back for 2 weeks, and they rented the same house on the beach. And they had an amazing time. And they got to be pretty good friends with the person who owned the VRBO. And they thought, well, maybe we could spend 3 months here in the winter. So then they rented the same VRBO for 3 months in the winter. And then they talked to the owner, and they ended up doing every year for the same, I think about 5 months out of the year, they go to this vacation home on the beach, and they are now living a life beyond their wildest dreams. Her and her husband, who absolutely loves being at the beach, they have a VRBO that they can go to for half of the year on the beach, and they still have their house, and they still live in the place that they love where all their friends are, and they're having this incredible experience. They didn't have to buy the house. They didn't have to change their residency. They didn't have to sell their other house. They didn't have to leave all their friends. It's even better than what she could have imagined when she first had the inspiration, because the only way she thought it would be possible to ever have that experience was to have to buy a house on the beach in California to have that experience. What is the one step you can take today? What is the one step you can take to living a life beyond your wildest dreams, and take that step? Take that step. I recently had this experience, and it's very timely. And I was practicing this wisdom that I teach so I can continue to live a life beyond my wildest dreams. And I asked myself the question, what would bring me joy? What would bring me joy? I went back to feeling into that place of absolutely nothing could make me any happier than I am right now. But what one experience would I really love to have? And the thing that came to mind was to go to a spa and have a spa day and get a massage. And that's something that I could do. And so I called, and I made a reservation, and I talked to my partner, and I said, "Hey, would you like to go? Let's do this. Have a spa day at this local hotel that is 2 miles from our house that has a spa." So we did. And we spent almost 5 hours at the spa, in the saunas, in the hot tubs, getting a massage, and just being. And I was sitting there, and we looked at each other, and I'm like, this is one of those perfect moments. This is beyond my wildest dreams. This is what it feels like. And so maybe for you, it's having I have a friend, this is another one. She said, having a life beyond my wildest dreams, I would have an immaculate rose garden. She heard me talking about rose gardens and how much I love rose gardens. And I said, well, is there any place in your town that you live that has a rose garden? And she said, yeah, actually, there is a place in my town that has a rose garden. And so she started to go there every week and just feel that all of these roses were here for her, that it was her rose garden. Long story short, over the course of a couple of years, she moved a couple of times and eventually ended up renting a house. And it was in the winter. She rented a house and loved the house. And a couple months after living there, all of a sudden, she realized that she had this immaculate rose garden that she really couldn't appreciate it when she moved there because it was winter. But as spring came, all of these beautiful roses started to bloom, and the whole property was lined with roses. And without even realizing that she had rented a house that had the most incredible rose garden and roses all over, she had found just the perfect place. and is now living beyond her wildest dreams, one step at a time. What's the next step you can take? What's the next step you can take? What's the next step you can take? And you are choosing, and you're absolutely free to choose. If living a life beyond your wildest dreams would feel like freedom, then give yourself that freedom. Maria says, I try to remember what I wanted when I was a kid before life got in the way, which made me think of something that I was just about to mention. One of the things I remember as freedom as a kid was having the summer off. Having the summer off to do whatever you want to do in the summer. And that was freedom. You could sleep in. I used to ride my bike to the pool and go swim all day and play with my friends. I remember that feeling of freedom, right, in the summer. And so, how can you, in some way, create that freedom in your life right now? We were talking about this recently, where someone asked the question of wanting to be able to do what they want to do with their day and let themselves live completely inspired, that would be living beyond their wildest dreams, is to wake up each day and follow the inspiration and do what brings them joy and not have any agenda, which is success principle number 11. True creation has no agenda. Live with no agenda and just be in the energy of true creation all day. And then she went on to say, but I can't do that unless I leave my job. And this is what we tend to do. We know on some level what living a life beyond our wildest dreams would feel like and what it would be like. And then we immediately go to why we can't. Immediately go to why we can't. So the answer back to her was, you're creating a big decision, right? It goes back to our friend who wanted to live in a house in California on the beach, but her husband didn't want to. So the second she thought, oh, that would be a life beyond my wildest dreams, but I can't because my husband doesn't want to move there and doesn't want to sell the house. So it's not possible, right? I want to live a life where I wake up each day and I follow the inspiration and I live in the flow and I experience true creation, but I can't unless I quit my job. So we make this big, it becomes a really big decision. And in most cases, because it's so big, it's not possible, and people don't do anything at all. They just get stuck in the story of why they can't, why they can't, why they can't. And so the answer back to her was, you don't have to make a big decision. But do you work 7 days a week? No. I have I have Saturday, Sunday off, for example. Okay. Then on Saturday or Sunday or both, live this way for 1 day or 2 days. Live this way on your day off right now. And maybe you can. Maybe you can take a week off. Maybe you have vacation time and you can take a week off and just live completely and totally in the flow all day, intentionally, knowing that you're free to choose that, knowing that you're free to do that. Someone might say, well, I can't because on my days off, I have to do all these things, or I can't because I have my kids. Then ask for the help that you need for 1 day. Ask for the help that you need for 1 day and give yourself that experience for 1 day so that you can truly feel like what it feels like. So you can truly feel what it feels like to be free for 1 day and live beyond your wildest dreams for 1 day. Start there. Find some way in this day to start living your wildest dreams, to close that gap. What's the next perfect step? Do that. And then let the next perfect step come. And then let the next perfect step come. And then let the next perfect step come. And this is what I had to do for myself that day, that I wanted to have an experience of being at the spa and getting a massage and just relaxing and being in the flow and just being surrounded by serenity and beautiful music for one day. Give yourself that. It is what begins to shift everything for you, to start understanding that you really are free and you really are free to choose the experience you want to have. This reminds me of a story, and I've told it a couple of times, but it was one of those huge epiphany moments for me. And the council asked one of my students the question, what would most bring you joy today? If you could do one thing that was a symbol of your abundance and your freedom, what would you do in this day? And she said, well, I'd go get a massage. That's what I would do. If I had the money that I wanted, that's what I would do today, this woman said. And then she went into, but I can't because it would cost $300 to go to where I really want. And the council said, okay, how much do you have in the bank? And she said, I have $3,000. And then she went into the story, but I've got to pay my rent. I've got all these bills due, and I only have $3,000. And if I had more money, then I would go get a massage. And you got to kind of play this game with yourself. The freedom game. The council said, but wait, in this moment, you have everything you need and more to do what you want to do. You have everything you need and more in this moment to do what you want to do. Are you willing to recognize that? Are you willing to recognize that if you want to do something that costs $300 and you have $3,000 in your bank account, you have 10 times the money to do what you want to do in this day? In this day. And they said, we're not saying go spend that $300 on a massage, but make the shift in your perspective that what you want to do today costs $300, and you not only have $300, you have $3,000. You have everything you need and more if you chose to really go do that thing and give yourself your freedom back. If what you really want to do today costs $300 and you have $3,000 in the bank, you are actually free to choose that. Now, you may not choose to do that, but make the shift in your perspective that you actually are free to do that. It's a shift in your perspective. Live this wisdom, and you will live a life beyond your wildest dreams. Find some way in this day to start living it today, feeling into what it would feel like, and starting to align with that within you. If you want to create anything in the world around you, you must first create it within yourself. Create that freedom that you already have to live a life beyond your wildest dreams today. So I hope that was helpful. I really love these opportunities to share with you, to see all your beautiful hellos and comments and interaction with each other. Thank you very much for being here. You can find a lot more incredible, hope you find them incredible. I think they're kind of fun. You can find a lot more free videos on our YouTube channel, Sara Landon Life. So please subscribe. We're very committed to getting you great content there. There's lots of free videos there. You can also go to my website, saralandon.com. There's a whole section there that says free resources. And go get your book, The 15 Success Principles for Self-Realization. Leave a review where you bought your book and tell me what your favorite success principle is. If you have the book, please leave a comment here. Tell me what your favorite success principle is. Tell me what has changed your life. And remember this wisdom. And remember the promise of this book. It's written right on the back so that you don't forget, or so that it can continuously remind you. Live this wisdom, and you will have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I'm so grateful for the thousands and thousands of students that we have all over the world that are living a life beyond their wildest dreams. They inspire me. So many of you have made comments here. So inspiring. So I hope you loved this conversation today, please feel free to share and join us again next month. I said we have something very special going on, so be sure to keep an eye on saralannon.com. We have some exciting things coming up. We also have an amazing new course launching in May 2025, so be sure to check that out. Check out our website, join our Advanced Masters class community. There's lots of great courses there as well. But thank you for being here. And I hope you choose to live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I can't wait to hear your stories about what that means and what that feels like and what incredible things start showing up for you. So thank you for being part of our community. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, everybody.